everyone. My name's Kenzie.
And I'm Kate.
And we are from Fermyon here. Excited to do the September edition of Cloud Office Hours, which is crazy. Time is flying by super quickly.
Yeah, it's truly exciting to have summer ended, moving into an exciting phase.
We've been pretty busy at Fermyon. If you're with us in the August edition, we had myself and Sohan. And for this session, we are actually here in Bellevue, Washington, attending WasmCon, and Kate is a lovely engineer from our team, and she's going to be joining me for today's session. So Kate, thanks for being here.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here. And you can kind of see we're sitting in our booth here right now at WasmCon, which is exciting in particular because if you're familiar with kind of the CNCF conference circuit, namely KubeCon is very well known. Well, WasmCon is the first instance of a WebAssembly focused event from the CNCF. So it's really exciting to see a lot of people here engaging in some of the talks, and we had a workshop this morning. So yes, it's a great time to really dive into the WebAssembly space.
Yeah, and if you aren't attending the conference in person, you can still attend virtually, which is really exciting. There are different talks that are just being streamed. So if you check out the link below, I believe you can see what's available or get instructions on how to get involved. So not too much FOMO required if you really want to catch up on all things WasmCon. It's the first ever WasmCon, which is really exciting. And we're just lucky to be a part of it and working with a bunch of other awesome companies, hearing what they think about WebAssembly and what they're working on.
100%.
Yes, and if you might see people coming and going too, all good. Maybe we'll actually have some folks, attend from the conference and hop on and chat with us. Feel free to throw it in the chat where you're coming from. Hello, Ahmed. Glad to have you here. I love seeing people chime in. Again, this is actually office hours, so while we have a few things prepped for you guys, if there are questions that you have, or feel free to throw them out there. We're more than happy to help with all things Spin and Fermyon Cloud. So this time really is for you to catch up on things. And if you aren't familiar with Fermyon, we are a WebAssembly company building serverless WebAssembly platform in Fermyon Cloud. And we also have Spin, which is our open source developer tool for writing and composing WebAssembly-based applications, which we run and host on Fermyon Cloud, but you, of course, could take that other places as well. We have a little bit of Spin swag. It's fun. We have more things to show off here than we normally do. It'd be a good thing to show too. We have an events page, actually. So if you go to fermyon.com, and I'll grab the URL for everyone. But if you're not at WasmCon, but maybe you're thinking about KubeCon and a few other conferences coming up this year, we just published an events page that folks can check out and see where we'll be next, just in case you have conferences on the mind and you're curious about seeing where we're at. Just updated that. You can check it out and see what's on the schedule for Fermyon. So
yeah, you may actually see us at the booth next time we're live streaming here too. And if people walk by, we're going to encourage them to ask questions too, and maybe join the live stream in person. But right now, I think a lot of people are attending some of the really great talks that are going on here. So
yes, we have a keynote going on right now. Oh, cool. Looks like we have someone tuning in from Cairo, Egypt. That's awesome.
That's very exciting. I wish I was there.
Yeah, actually, I do too. As cool as Bellevue, Washington is, that sounds like an awesome location to be tuning in from as well. Okay, well, again, we're live streaming from WasmCon. Next up on the agenda, we'd love to catch you up on what we've been working on since the last time we chatted. So we'll probably bring up our changelog, and if you aren't familiar, our changelog is where we publish all the new things up and coming with Fermyon Cloud. I'll try and link it in here via banner, but Kate will bring it up so we can real-time walk through that together. So yeah, really recommend using that as a resource to check out all the new things Fermyon Cloud related. So you should be able to see it on our screen now. If you don't mind scrolling just a little bit, that'd be fantastic.
Zoom out.
Or just scrolling down so we can get the latest news. Thank you. So we actually have been quite busy since the last session.
For sure.
We're now 2 features in private beta, which is just really big news. We announced our Fermyon serverless AI feature Monday, right?
Yeah, very recently. And we actually have a blog post about why we think serverless AI with WebAssembly is really powerful, which we can maybe link in there as well. But it's really exciting to be able to provide a solution to kind of the AI problem of how do we get access to a GPU from a serverless workload in a way that is a proper use of resources. And so with Fermyon serverless AI solution, you can both locally using a model there and in the cloud use an LLM model from your application, which is really exciting. And we're excited to see what people do with it as well.
Yes, we're just sticking to that theme of wanting to build feature-rich WebAssembly applications. So this past August session, we talked a little bit about key value store. We talked about NoOps DB or SQLite. Like we're building in this functionality for you to store data, apply custom domain names, and just with the rising trend of people wanting to augment and enhance their applications with AI, we are thinking through kind of what are the pain points with that workflow today. And yeah, downloading and managing models, Kate mentioned, procuring GPUs, which are really expensive. All those things we're comfortable doing as a cloud platform and are happy to do on your behalf, so you can just focus on application development. So yeah, definitely check it out. It's available for use locally for everyone. And then the cloud experience is in private beta. So there's a form you can sign up for that's linked there and also in the blog post. So definitely do sign up so you can try it out. It doesn't matter what subscription plan you're on. Private beta will be accessible to everyone who kind of gets through. So definitely don't hesitate to apply there.
Yeah, and part of the private beta side of this is we want to hear what you think of it. If you're excited about it, like we're excited about it, but we want to know, is this actually useful? Did we think that this was something that people want from the standard serverless WebAssembly workflow? And is it something that people were missing? And we're also excited to see what you build with it. So we always have our community Discord where you can add questions or add thoughts.
Yes, please do chime in. We're, as a company, I think in 9 different time zones. So in addition to the community around Spin and Fermyon Cloud, there's typically someone from Fermyon probably awake and ready to chat on there. So don't hesitate to reach out. Again, I'm Kenzie. This is Kate. We're from Fermyon, live streaming from WasmCon in Bellevue, Washington. Looks like we have folks streaming in from all over the world, folks from Brazil, and again, Cairo, Egypt. So cool to see you all chiming in. If there's any questions, definitely feel free to throw them out there. Anything from like, what is WebAssembly to like, how do I get involved with like contributing with Spin? We're here. And actually a lot of WebAssembly experts are also around like in this same room. So yeah. Great place to be asking questions, and we'll try and maybe pull some people in. Maybe a few folks who are visiting the booth will be brave enough to hop on the stream and chat with us.
Yeah.
Nice.
I'm going to go ahead and scroll through. We talked a lot about our serverless AI feature that we've added to Fermyon Cloud, but we also have support for NoOps SQL databases, which were they available our last live stream?
Yes, they were pretty new. But yeah, it's definitely worth highlighting because we're still looking for that community feedback, especially because the cloud experience is in private beta. Yeah, so now you can use persist relational data both locally with Spin and in cloud with NoOps database. And it is kind of an interesting name, NoOps database, a little bit of a history behind that. Kate, do you want to share why we call it NoOps?
Yeah, I think one of the things that people like about the serverless experience is that you don't need to manage any part of your infrastructure. And so we wanted to take that to another level where we create a SQL database for you on deployment of your Spin application that uses one. Without you having to take any operations to make that happen. You don't need to configure a database. You don't need to link it to an application. You simply deploy your application and it has a SQLite database tagged to it. So, and it's able to interact with it through the Spin SDKs that it knows. And there's Karthik, another engineer at Fermyon. Yay.
Yeah, again, thanks to Karthik for helping us get set up on streaming and all that good stuff. It really does take a team to get us all configured. But yeah, thanks. That's a great explanation for the feature. Again, private beta, you should be able to get access if you scroll through the change log and fill out that type form. We'll work on getting back to you real quick on that. But yeah, between NoOpsDB, now Fermyon serverless AI, it's definitely been a busy month at Fermyon. Yeah, we're just really excited to hear your feedback and hear a little bit about what you're building. So yeah, feel free to chime in the chat if you've used Spin before, or if you have an idea you're thinking about. Great place to brainstorm. We always love to hear how people are approaching the product.
Yeah, and on that note, a great place if you have a great spin example that you kind of want to share with the world, we have Spin Up Hub, which is a great spot for finding great quick starts for spin applications that might be applicable to something you want to do, or sharing what you've done. You can also add plugins that you've worked on or templates. If you're familiar with that, we have a plugin system for Spin where you can plug in functionality to the Spin CLI and even plug in new triggers. So for example, we have HTTP and Redis triggers, but you could also plug in an SQS trigger, which we have support for actually. And the templates are a way of scaffolding new types of applications, predominantly for new languages, which you might be familiar with as well.
Yes, it's an awesome resource. I've linked it down below. We'll probably check it out a little bit later on in the stream, but feel free to navigate there if you're curious about checking it out. I'm thinking it probably makes sense to dive into our serverless AI feature and try it a little bit. And while we do that transition, I want to showcase our awesome stickers too. It's just, we have so many fun props.
We have a lot
here.
of props on the booth.
So yeah, again, I'll share the events page so you can check out, where we'll be next. But we have lots of fun swag, and we love it when folks come and chat with us. So yeah, you can see where we'll be next, and it's been a bunch of fun being at WasmCon and chatting with everyone.
Definitely. I can share my screen to go ahead and.
Fantastic. So Kate's going to be bringing up a demo for folks who are joining us streaming from WasmCon Live. And we're going to be walking through our newest feature as of this week, serverless AI, available for everyone in the Canary version of Spin locally. And then it is currently in private beta for Fermyon Cloud. You can apply with Fermyon.ai. It'll take you to the splash page where you can learn more about use cases, and you can go ahead and sign up there. If you have any questions around like what sort of models are supported, we'll chat about it today as well, but that's another great resource where you can see exactly what use cases are and aren't supported. And if you see something that you're missing or you wish that you had, let us know in Discord. We love to see it. So if there's a model you're looking for, or you just ran into a bit of a scenario where you couldn't get your app to quite work, definitely reach out. We're happy to help and love to hear what you think. All right, so it looks like we are ready to go. So this is the Spin Up Hub I was hearing about earlier.
Yes, so here we are with that transition, or I guess a little bit of suspense from earlier. This is the Spin Up Hub, like we mentioned. You can see that there's 3 highlighted at the top up here, and they're colorful because we're excited about our latest serverless AI feature on Fermyon Cloud, and of course also for Spin Apps locally. And each one of these applications are just examples that you can run locally that are all created for you and kind of give you a sense of the power of using Spin to run serverless AI workloads. So with that being said, one that we get pretty excited about is a sentiment analysis application that we have. So I'm going to go ahead, when you want to use a application from Spin Up Hub, you simply click on it. It gives you the link to where this application lives. So we can go ahead and navigate there, and we can see that it's a part of this AI examples repository. So you can simply clone it, and we'll go ahead, and if we look at it, there's 2 sentiment analysis applications. We can do the REST one or the TypeScript one. We'll do the TypeScript one today. And so I've already cloned it locally.
And also just a quick point about that. We love community contributions. So if you go through and you see the examples and you go, there aren't a lot of embedding examples. I think there's probably 1 right now. And you want to build your own and share it, we'd love to see it. So feel free to create pull requests with what you've built and also showcase that on the Spin Up Hub. And if you have questions about how that works, Discord's a great place. We're more than happy to help you get started with your contributions. It's also probably worth chatting about, so AI is a really loaded term, and it covers a lot of different content. What type of AI? Where are we focusing with Fermyon serverless AI?
Yeah, so these are all specifically large language models, so LLMs. And so we're focused on making intelligent inferences based off of text. So our applications are going to be based on that scenario. So for example, a sentiment analysis where we give an application a line of text and it tells us, is this positive, negative, neutral? Our SDKs also do embeddings, and our SQLite databases have enabled vector search on them too. So there's a lot of different ways you can play around with all of the different features, namely the two features of NoApp's SQL databases and serverless AI.
Which is, yeah, pretty sweet. You don't have to provision your database. It's all ready to go. We'll walk you through how to set up your application manifest correctly. It only takes a few lines and you have all of those resources at your fingertips. So you can build some pretty cool apps. And yeah, we're excited to walk through this one with you today. We always love front-end development help. So if you're passionate about front-end development and you want to help us kind of like build out some cool UIs for some of these projects, that's another great use case where, yeah, I would love to see some contributions. Again, we are streaming live from WasmCon. I'm Kenzie, this is Kate, and we're walking through our Fermyon serverless AI example, specifically looking at the sentiment analysis app. I'll add the banner down below if folks want to check it out and visit it themselves.
Yeah, and if you're someone who likes to follow along, feel free, go to the SpinUp Hub, clone the repository, and we can build this together. And I'll walk through, instead of just doing simple spin build and spin up, we're going to walk through kind of what's happening in this application, and then we're going to do some sentiment analysis. So just to refresh the steps that I just took. So I cloned the repository. I'm now in the sentiment analysis TypeScript example, and now I'm just like opened up the application. And when you are working in a spin application, one of the first things to note is the spin application manifest. It's named the spin.toml is the file name. And this is where you define all the different components of an application. And each component maps to one WebAssembly component or one .wasm file and lives on a different endpoint of the application. So because this is an HTTP triggered application, each one of these components will be spun up by spin when a specific endpoint is hit for the application.
Cool. I'd love to hear from the audience. Have folks authored an application manifest file before? Are you familiar with using this? Let us know if yes, no, or yeah, if you have any questions, that'd be great. But I'd be curious to just get a little poll of folks seen this before, or maybe this is something brand new and that can help us, guide you through the rest of this tutorial. So feel free to chime in if you have any experience here, or if you have questions. All right.
And I'll go ahead and dive in with a deeper overview. And then if people want to drill into anything more specifically, feel free to throw out those questions. So if we look at I'm going to go ahead and zoom in a little bit more.
Yeah, I'm like leaning into it a little bit.
About that. Yeah, so we talked a little about the trigger of an application. That's a really important thing to highlight first. So out of the box, Spin supports a Redis trigger. So you could have your application be spun up by events in a Redis queue or Redis channel. Or your application can be triggered by HTTP events, so requests. And like I mentioned earlier, we have a plugin system. So if there's other ways that you want to trigger an application, you could create a Spin plugin for that.
Yes, that would be awesome. We'd love community contributions there. And it's interesting to hear. I mean, functions are typically used in conjunction with other, resources. So it's always interesting to hear how you're imagining this specific part of your overall workload fitting into like a bigger picture. So interesting data. Feel free to share. And I'm sure others in the community would benefit from it as well.
For sure. Great. So, thank you for the question. Well, so we just got a question about what about a Python SDK. So when you're creating a Spin application, you actually have the opportunity to scaffold an application from a template. So I'm just going to show that really quick as an aside. So say I wanted to create a new application, I would do Spin new. What this does is it presents all these options of all these templates that I can use to scaffold my first application. And you'll notice that there is a Python template. So I could create a Python application just with a simple spin new. And we go ahead and do that. We can name our application.
Ooh, this is always the hardest part.
Yeah,
creative name.
Really being consistent. So we'll see now that we have a thing called, it's really poorly named. I did not mean to, but Python capital P underscore app, which would make all Python developers very happy. I'm sorry.
We're on the fly. It's good.
And if we were to now look at this application, you'll see that we have an application, a Python app that was just scaffolded for us. So we have on a request, it's going to have a simple response that just says hello from the Python SDK. And we have that spin.toml again. Still, it's an HTTP trigger. And it defines one component, which is this hello world type Python app. And we can even, I think I have Python set up locally. Let's see if we can get this running.
And while you're working on that, I've also linked our language support overview. So we do have Python SDK support, but there are some features that aren't quite available yet. So one example is our serverless AI. We don't have Python support for that quite yet. If you are interested, let us know, Discord, or even feel free to just chime in the chat. If you would like to see Fermyon serverless AI and Python SDK support together, that's really great data for us to bring back to the team. And that link down below is a great resource outside of the stream to check things out and see what's available.
Yeah, so you can see like we just in a matter of a minute built a Python spin application and ran it and then just queried it. And we got that hello from the Python SDK response, which let's see if we can find our terminal, which was the response we expected. Hello from the Python SDK. We could change that from WasmCon.
Nice.
And we can go back. And we can also do all in one command, a spin build up, and also get our updated. And then the next step of this is I could just easily do a spin deploy.
And what's happening on spin deploy behind the scenes?
Yeah, so I knew my Python application was not going to be properly named. So let's rename our Python application real quick. Kenzie, while I do that.
Sure. Yeah, so we have a plugin that allows you to take your spin application that you run locally with SpinUp and move it to Fermyon Cloud with spin deploy. So that's great if you want to move on your local machine, add a custom domain name, scale out, use the cloud resources we were provisioning, like the NoOps database, key value store, all of that's available there. So yeah, spin cloud deploy. And if you don't have an account, it's very easy to get started. We have a free tier that's available for everyone with all those resources we just described. So definitely go ahead and sign up. And it looks like we are maybe successful in deploying our Python application.
We are. I was just going to go ahead and close this top part of the terminal so you can see that. Yeah, so our app has been deployed. And so now we can, now this is global. So you're also welcome if you want to interact to query this application and get a hello from our Python application. And once again, we're getting hello from WasmCon.
Ooh, this might actually be a good opportunity to bring up the Fermyon Cloud dashboard because we can take a look and see if actually anyone's hitting the endpoint here.
Yeah, please ping away, folks, so I'm not embarrassed. I might still be embarrassed by the lack of use of my app.
No, it's a good load test. Where is it?
So here's our Python application. So within the Fermyon Cloud dashboard, you can get things like logs, which we didn't have any logging lines in our application. You can also directly open the app. That's convenient in case like you're not always attached to your local CLI experience and instead are far away but want to remember what your app's endpoint is. You can also add a custom domain to your application.
Nice.
And you can see all the requests that have happened in the past hour. We've had a couple requests.
Oh yeah, can you hover on it just so I can get a count? Or see at the very far right, there's a little peak.
Okay, yeah.
Cool. Look for it. 2 of us.
2. All right, let's do one more refresh and see if anyone else participated.
Well, we also, this is maybe
Three.
a good use of our customized Fermyon subdomains, because right now the URL is a little unfriendly. We have that little random string, which is a fun fact. You get this every time you deploy a spin app to Fermyon Cloud. It's the app name concatenated with the random string. So we could add a custom Fermyon subdomain to make it a little bit friendlier by clicking that manage domain button.
Should we?
Yeah, let's go for it.
All right, let's add a custom domain.
Again, I'm Kenzie. This is Kate. You can come on. We're streaming from WasmCon, and this is also Roddy. We have a mic here, so yeah, they'll pick up on you. We're just on the floor talking to people, showing the latest and greatest things on Fermyon Cloud, and of course, looking to hear from you. So if you have questions, feel free to throw them out. Or if you're interested in WasmCon, I'll share this banner again. You can actually stream and attend this virtually, so you don't have to be in Bellevue, Washington. You can visit that URL and listen in, because there are people from all over the world visiting who are really leaders in the field, and it's awesome to be here and hearing their thoughts and learning from them.
It's a really informed set of speakers. We also have right now been working on a Python application. We had a question of, what about a Python SDK? We are working on a serverless AI application that we were doing in TypeScript. And so the question stemmed from, I've heard WebAssembly is polyglot, but how polyglot? And so with Spin, you can use all different types of languages to build your Spin apps. And now we're on the topic of, hey, we've deployed this app to cloud. Can I make it more easy for people to understand what the domain is for this application? So let's add a custom subdomain. So we just went through a flow of managed domains, and then we just edit the name of our domain. And let's just make it Python app.
Ooh, do you think that's gonna be available?
If that's available, we just won out.
This is a little teaser. You should go if you're on Fermyon Cloud and you get your username. I think that's a good one to pull. So get up username. But yeah, wow, we just got Python app.
Great. And then I think it needs a second to load a little, maybe. Yep, we should be ready now. So let's get another hello from our application. Hello from Python SDK.
Nice. I'll have the banner if we can.
There
we go. Folks can check it out if they would like to see. Just a silly hello world. We'll go back to our serverless AI example. It was a great question about SDK support and how do we get started with our programming language of choice. So there you go. That didn't take us too long to get up and going.
We clearly love tangents, so throw us on another, please. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and say goodbye to our Python example. And let's go back to our sentiment analysis app.
Right. And then remind me so this is using Fermyon serverless AI. And what language have we chosen here?
We're going to use TypeScript here.
Okay.
Within that examples repository that we got to from SpinUp Hub, we could have used Rust or run Rust. You're also welcome to build this in Go. Go has support for our, or is coming soon, one of the two. It's probably coming very soon. This week. Keep your eyes out. For an SDK for using serverless AI. But yeah, so those are the three languages right now, or soon to be for Go, that you can do this with.
And all the examples are there. There's a nice README down there, so you can see what's inferencing, what's using embedding, vector DBs, and the languages that are supported just on the README, so you can find what works best for you.
So we're back in our spin.toml here. We have three components. The first one's the one that we're going to be focusing on the implementation of. That's going to use our serverless AI feature and all the SDKs associated with it. And that's what's going to be calling out to our large language model that we have either locally or in cloud.
Nice.
So one key part of Spin applications is that WebAssembly has capability-based security. So a component can only have access to what has explicitly been granted access. So you'll notice here our sentiment analysis application has access to several things. It has access to a key value store.
Okay.
Because our application is going to have caching. So we're going to cache any previously questioned phrases. So if we ask like, is I am hungry positive, negative, or neutral, When it says neutral, we're going to cache that. We're not going to let it change its mind.
Cool. So that way we just have a really quick response available, right?
Yes. So we only want to send out requests to our model when we need to, because that's going to take a little longer than reading from a key value store.
Makes sense.
And we're also going to give access to that model. So we're going to use Llama 2 for our model, and that's one that we could load locally, or in Fermyon Cloud, we support that one and Code Llama.
And so when you say support, that means as a user, I don't have to download any models or anything like that, right?
Right. So we have those models running in Fermyon Cloud, and your request will be sent and processed by it.
Awesome.
The other components in our spin application are a key value explorer, so that we can see all of the cached responses in a nice UI instead of having to get access to the database directly. And then we have, and you'll notice that also has access to the key value store. So if we didn't give it access, it wouldn't be able to access that database.
So that's more of like a tool for me as a developer, right? When I'm curious to poke what's in the store versus an end user, if I was actually building the sentiment analysis app to share and publish, right? That'd
Exactly.
be a component just for me. Okay.
Exactly. So you might notice that the route says internal. So you might choose to make your routes for your WebAssembly application obvious and what should be an external facing endpoint versus one that's internal for managing your application or understanding what's going on.
Nice.
And then the final part of our WebAssembly, our spin application here, is our file server component. So this is a component that you can point to. You don't have to build it yourself, just like the key value explorer, that will serve up files upon request. So it's basically just has this directory of files. So we're saying anything that is in the assets directory locally. So it has all of these, and it will make it available to the WebAssembly component at the root directory. And so you can see this is going to be our front end for our application. And we'll see this soon live on, yeah.
So this component's going to have to come up pretty quickly then, right? Because we don't want any lag associated with bringing up any of our front end components. Like this, it would be a good showcase of how quickly things spin up with our application.
Yeah. So the our in a front end built off spin, it is quite quick. It's really just reading those local files and immediately serving it upon request. So we'll see that there isn't a lot of a delay there that you may be worried about. And on the note of front end, if you're interested in building a WebAssembly based CMS, we have a project called Bartholomew that is great for building out, say, a blog or documentation that you would like to share with people, that's powered by WebAssembly, and you could even host it on Fermyon Cloud. So I think Kenzie's going to link that in here. Yep. So let's go ahead and look at our sentiment analysis app. And actually, we have the author here if Caleb wants to come in and say hi. Caleb wrote this example.
He's shocked.
And is a little shocked to be pulled in, but we're going to just give him a little hello. So that's Caleb. Caleb wrote this. So look, we can even see Caleb's name. There's Caleb. Woo, Caleb over here. Okay, so Caleb wrote this example for us. And do you want to walk us through it?
Sure. Cool. Yeah, why not? So wait, what have you guys already talked about?
We've talked about the spin.toml, but we haven't talked at all about how the code works yet.
Got it. And have we already demoed it?
We haven't demoed it yet.
No, we've just cracked it open.
Well, do we want to do a demo first? I always like to do the demo first.
Let's do it. Okay, Caleb says we're demoing immediately. We shall demo. Cool. So like with our Python application, the only thing we need to do to build this application is first for a TypeScript and JavaScript application, we want to make sure we installed all of our dependency packages, and then we'll do a spin build.
And while we're building, I'm curious, are there any TypeScript developers out here? If that's your programming language of choice, feel free to throw it in the chat. Yeah, just curious to hear a little bit more about what you're interested in. Again, streaming live from WasmCon, doing a live demo of Fermyon serverless AI sentiment analysis with the author himself, Caleb from Fermyon.
And one thing to note is that in order to use a local model, we should probably, this is going to take a while.
Do you have it downloaded yet?
I do, but
just copy to the folder.
I know, I was just saying, well, we're going to do it locally, so the inferencing is going to be kind of slow because it's on my machine, not on a powerful GPU. You
don't have GPUs locally?
Yeah, sorry. So right now we just built and served our application, and we can go ahead and, oh, this is an interface. We can go to the UI and,
Ooh.
so here is our beautiful application. Caleb, do you want to tell us how it works?
Yeah, totally. So this is the sentiment analyzer. There's a little bit of a explanation at the top there, but it's really simple. You just enter in whatever sentence you want to analyze, and then you hit enter or hit analyze, and it's going to crunch that with the crunch that in the back end, do some inference. So we'll go ahead and maybe we can in chat get a sentence that we should analyze.
Yes.
Little crowd participation.
And again, it's being evaluated positive, neutral, and negative.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or unsure if it's not sure, but usually it's sure.
Bonus points if you can throw it and make it unsure.
Yeah.
So please throw us a sentence to feed into our sentiment analyzer. See if we can get some audience participation and get a good sentence to try out.
If we don't get one in a minute, we'll just do hi. Oh, there's a good one.
I love pumpkin spice latte. Okay,
That's a winner.
That is a winner. If this is not positive, I shall cry.
Yeah, it might hurt Roger's feelings.
Okay, I love pumpkin spice latte. Let's analyze. Okay, so since we were doing this locally on my machine, that means my laptop is turning away and processing that, and our local LLM, our model, which is right here, it's a Llama 2 model, is running an analysis to decide the sentiment. That can take almost a minute sometimes. So we're going to show how it's faster on Fermyon Cloud after this, but right now we're essentially stalling for time.
It's churning away. It's a good example. You can download, slightly smaller models and run them locally. The trade-off is accuracy, but you're going to get a faster response. And if you're going to eventually host this somewhere else, like Fermyon Cloud, that might be an okay trade-off to make, depending on your patience
right.
for hearing back.
Just knowing that the consistency of the experience might be different too if you use a different model. But we've gotten our answer, and that is a positive sentiment. So thank you for bringing positivity into this world.
Excellent.
Wonderful. So let's deploy this to cloud now and see how much faster our requests are processed. So
this is the nice part too, is we don't have to go in and make a bunch of changes to our application manifest, right? All you did was run that extra command of spin deploy.
And one step that we missed here was a spin login. So if you want to have access to cloud, you first need to log into cloud. I was already logged in, and that configuration was saved locally, so I didn't need to worry about that step. But you should do a spin login, spin deploy, synonymously spin cloud login, spin cloud deploy. And now we have a public endpoint for our application. So let's go ahead and go there. And you all are also welcome to go there. We can also add a custom domain again
to make it easier.
To make it easier. But let's ask another question. Does anyone have any other questions that they would like to ask the sentiment analyzer, whether on your own or in chat?
Again, bonus points if you make it unsure. I've not seen that yet today.
I want to. Okay.
Throw question statements. Again, this is a application built with Spin, a bunch of different components, but utilizing our Fermyon serverless AI. And what's cool here is this is going to go run on GPUs that Fermyon Cloud is managing and actually sharing across multiple applications. We've done this in a way that's pretty efficient. So we're expecting pretty low response times here.
Water is clear is a neutral statement. Let's see if we can turn that positive, but we have to retain 2 of the 3 words in the sentence.
Do we have any suggestions, Karen, on what to feed our sentiment analysis app?
Wait, what about this? Water is clear! Exclamation point.
Ooh. How does the punctuation change things?
I think it's gonna be positive. We are so stoked about.
The water is not clear! Exclamation mark.
Yeah.
The water is not clear. I think the water, also the demonstrative adjective, is really gonna send it into negative territory here. That is negative. Well, we really Just
real
that.
English lesson.
All done free. And you can try this out yourself. Again, the example is on Spin Up Hub if you want to spin this up and like take components of this and build your own application around it. This is really just meant to be a playground and inspire you to build something that you think would be useful. So definitely check it out. And we were talking about caching a little bit earlier, right? And using the key value store. Could we maybe showcase the value of that here by
let's walk through and we can talk about the caching. So if you scroll to the bottom of this, it's all living basically in this one component, and we've already talked about the spin.toml where we register this application. So the first thing we're doing here is just the entry point to the spin handler, the bottom there.
Oops.
You're good. And this is what's actually being called by Spin when a request comes into the application, and then using the really convenient router that you can use within the TypeScript SDK, we've set up some routes. So the important one there is on line 103, which is if you hit the API sentiment analysis endpoint with a post request, then you're going to be hitting our endpoint, and we'll be showing you what the logic looks like above. And then just a little bit of convenient stuff to show 404s if you're hitting a different endpoint. So that's the first part. If we scroll up to the start of the function there, on like line 50 or something, yeah, that's perfect. So this is the meat and potatoes of what's actually going on every time you load the page or hit the API. And so the first thing we're doing is we're just parsing the sentence out of the JSON body that you're sending. Pretty straightforward stuff there. And now getting to the caching that Kenzie was talking about, because it can be a little expensive to be constantly doing inference, and if we already know the result for something, we don't have to keep doing it. We want to cache this result in the KV store. So here on line 49, you can see we're opening up the KV store, and then we're checking to see if it's already existing in the cache. If it does already exist in the cache, then woohoo, we can just send back the data there and stop.
And question about what it means to open a key value store. And for folks joining, hey, a bunch of us over from Fermyon are here at WasmCon, streaming live, walking through this example on how to use Fermyon serverless AI and some of our other awesome data features like key value store. So we say open key value store, something's already been provisioned, or like what is this line exactly doing? And do I need to think about working with those resources ahead of time to make sure that connection is opened? That makes sense.
Good question. Did you want to take that one, Kate, or me?
I'll go for it. So when we do an open default, essentially we're getting back a handle to a key value store. So this KV object here is what now we can run all of our functions that we would run on a KV store on. So we can do those get requests, set requests, etc. In the context of when is my key value store created, within Fermyon Cloud, that's automatically created for you. Locally, that'll be a SQLite database, and we can see in the .spin directory, this SQLite key value.db is what will be created for you, and that will have all your keys and values. And we could even use like SQLite 3 and query it ourselves to like kind of see all the values that have been cached. And also the key value explorer does that in that UI way.
Awesome.
Caleb, would you add?
That's a great answer. That's what I was going to say. The important thing to note is it's not like it's like turning on the key value store or something like that. Mm-hmm. It's going to take a long time to start up. Getting a handle is the key word. It's how you can access it, but it's still running in the background and available.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So let's assume we don't find the cache sentiment already in the KV data store. Then if we scroll down a little bit, this is where we get to the meat and potatoes, the fun part of what we just launched, actually doing the inference. So all the magic happens on line 67, that LLM.infer, which it blows my mind that we can just do it in a single line of calling this LLM. I've worked with these before, and usually it's like a lot more work.
Longer,
so this is really
yeah.
nice. And so we can see actually the line above that we're just setting up some options. This is totally optional. What a surprise. But you can set things like max tokens or temperature or I don't know. I'm not enough of an AI person to remember all the other ones. But these kind of parameters of how you want the model to run and influence the output it creates. So for here, we're just doing max token 6 because we want really short, simple answers. And then we make the call. We're passing in inferencing models.llama2 chat. That's saying we want to use this specific model as opposed to like llama 2 code or other models like that. And then we're replacing the sentence in our prompt with the sentence that the user provided for us. Now, if we scroll up, we can actually look at the prompt that we're passing in right near the top. there's this kind of like unique format for the prompts where there's a system portion of the prompt and there's an instruction portion of the prompt. The system portion of the prompt is intended to kind of give context to the LLM as it's working. So in this case, we're telling it that it's a bot that's generating sentiment analysis and returning positive, negative, or neutral. And then the instruction is kind of the pattern that you want it to follow to actually generate your result. You might have heard this called like few shot training. So we're providing it a few examples to give it more context, and then it's going to follow that pattern. So on line 39, we're templating in the sentence that we passed, which, I love pumpkin spice latte, for example, would go there. And then it's going to respond with bot : positive, likely in that case.
Makes sense. One question from the audience. Do you know, is it fluent in emojis?
That's a really good question. I don't actually know off the top of my head. I would imagine that.
Try.
Yeah, we should try. I would imagine. Actually, I think I have tried, and I think it parses it to weird like Unicode stuff, so it doesn't handle it super well. But I'm sure there's smarter ways to get around that and have that. And importantly, that's a question of the model and the kind of tokenization that happens there. As we start to support more models in the future, I'm sure there's going to be models that will support that well.
Yes, let us know too if you're interested in other models. I'd love to hear it. We also have a question related to key value store that I'm going to put up here. Is the key value store reset when the page is refreshed?
Good question. No, it is not. So actually we can demo this. If we go back to the cloud example, and if you do like water is clear right now, the same one, it's going to be super quick because it's cached. And then if you reload the page, it should be super quick still because we're not clearing the KV cache. It still exists in the background.
Oh, interesting. So someone could hop on this app who's watching the stream.
Exactly.
Water's clear. They know immediately it's neutral.
Yeah. And the reason that is because this is like a KV store that's backed in the Fermyon Cloud with us managing that data service. This isn't just like some cache that's living in the browser.
And if we want to see all of our cache values, we could use that KV Explorer that we added to our application. And it'll output for us a
if you do not in local, you can access
you
can pass them off. So we've added a new feature where we authenticate you if you go into the KV Explorer, which is good. So random people can't just look at all your key values. If you're using it locally, there's a special flag you can pass that I forget what it is right now to get around the authentication, or for cloud setups, you're able to access the authentication key somehow that I don't remember right now.
I do. So if we go to Fermyon Cloud dashboard, we can look at the logs. So scroll down for the sentiment analysis. Takes a team, and there should be somewhere in here.
We see it.
Username and password. Those are overridable too. So we're sharing these on a stream. They will probably be gone by the time the stream is done. And yeah, it just makes sure that the right people have access. It's just a silly demo app, so that's okay for now.
You got some extra stuff in the password when you copied it.
While Kate's making her way into the key value store, right now, key value stores are tied to the lifespan of your Spin application. So if Kate decided to delete the app, the key value store would go as well. So just something to keep in mind when you're managing the application lifecycle. That would be the trigger to reset.
Oh, someone did a sentiment analysis on emojis.
Ooh.
That's cool. How many requests are we getting? Oh, that's lovely. We've gotten
Way to go, guys.
requests.
Thanks, folks. Again, we're from Fermyon. I'm Kenzie, Kate, Caleb, and
what was the result of the emoji?
we're now deep diving into our sentiment analysis app that we have built using Fermyon Serverless AI, our newest feature available as of this Monday. It's currently in private beta, so definitely go ahead and try it out. I'll show the link there.
I'm so stoked. So what we've just learned here is that smiley emoji trumps angry emoji, but wacky emoji does not trump angry emoji. So if we look at this, you can see smiley emoji plus angry emoji is positive, but wacky emoji plus angry emoji is negative.
You heard it here first.
Thank whoever's putting in these. Oh my gosh, I love this.
Yeah, I did bonk my head. But yeah, joking aside, this is a really cool feature. And again, we didn't have to worry about provisioning a GPU virtual machine and spinning it up just in time to answer all of these requests. It's all being managed for you by Fermyon Cloud. Really excited about this feature and looking forward to hearing your feedback.
Should we dive back into the code?
Yeah, let's do it.
Awesome. So we've passed the prompt, and if we scroll down a bit further, we've called the inference. This is the part where it's calling out to the GPUs that we're running in our cluster, if it's running in the cloud, or locally running on your CPU if you're testing locally. And then kind of a boring part here, but it always kind of comes with AI. You're going to get the result, and you need to clean up that data and pull it out. So in this case, we're splitting it on white space and then pulling up the second result, because it'd be bot : positive, negative, or neutral, and pulling that answer out. And then if it's something we don't recognize, it's not negative, neutral, or positive, then we're saying unsure. We don't know what it is. And if we scroll down a bit, at this point, then if we are confident about what the sentiment was, then we cache it in the KV store. Otherwise, we don't cache it, and then we return it. And that's how the API works. And then the user interface that you guys were seeing there was just kind of a tiny little UI I built on top of it so that you don't have to curl the API all the time.
Nice. Thanks for walking us through that, Caleb. Appreciate you hopping on and explaining it. Again, available on SpinUp Hub for folks who want to try things out themselves. It's there available in TypeScript and I believe Rust.
Correct. I think we also might have a Go version that's written but not published yet.
Go is in progress. So for you Go developers out there, good news. It's coming in the pipeline. If you're curious about a different programming language, let us know in the chat. We'd love to hear from y'all. If there's anything that you'd like to see supported with Fermyon Serverless AI or some of our other features, great to hear from you. Yeah, appreciate all that feedback.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah,
Glad I did.
bye. Sorry I didn't get you a chair.
No, you're good.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, one thing that might be interesting, so we've talked about the feature, we've looked at the source code, maybe taking a look at the blog and looking at the infrastructure that we're using on Fermyon Cloud. I think it is fun. Even though Fermyon Cloud is a serverless provider, we do like to share a little bit about how things are working behind the scenes for those of you who are curious. So Radu, who popped in and out of the stream a little bit earlier today, authored this fantastic blog explaining, how we built serverless AI. And if you scroll down a little bit, you can see that we have installed two llamas. That's actually Llama 2 and Code Llama for you. The specific models are in the documentation, and those are fully installed, ready for use. And we're going to run your application on GPUs through Siva. They've been a great partner. So that's, if you're curious about where the GPUs are running, over there. We have a nice architecture diagram a little bit further on down the blog. So yeah, you can see we demonstrate caching and key value stores. So if you wanted to make sure those responses are super quick, that's a great resource for you to use. If you are interested in trying out embeddings, which we haven't showcased yet today, our no-ops database is a great place to store that, and it is vector enabled. And yeah, again, we're running these on GPUs, and there's a queue involved, so it's currently in private beta, and so everyone involved in that will be sharing those GPUs. And because WebAssembly is so efficient, it's really easy to assign just a fraction of that GPU just in time to the request, and then release it for the next candidate. Also, just taking a look at the chat. Bummed couldn't come to WasmCon either, Shive.
Yeah, great to see you. This is, I'm glad you're tuning in. Shiva has done a lot of stuff within Spin and in the WebAssembly ecosystem in general, and was at Wasm.io, which was another big WebAssembly centric conference. So it's really exciting to see you in the chat. And I think you've signed up for serverless AI too. So please let us know what you think. Always great to have someone who's really well known in the WebAssembly field try out all the Fermyon features.
Yes, we love your feedback. We love hearing the ideas that people are coming up with in Discord. So definitely feel free to chime in there, and we try and share ideas as they're coming up as well. So that's another really great resource for you to check out. All right, so we've gone through the latest and greatest that we've built in the past month, and one thing that might be worth checking out, because it's starting to become a tradition is using finicky whiskers.
Yeah.
If you wanna, maybe we should give it a spin and see how we do.
Should we bring over the actual? I don't know.
So what we're thinking about is there are two ways to play finicky whiskers. One is online. Kate can direct you to the URL if you want to give it a shot. And then if you visit our events page, which there should be a banner I can share here, and you attend a conference, you can actually play finicky whiskers in real life using this iPad setup. Yes. And for those of you who aren't familiar, this is our world's most adorable load generator. It's also telling a great narrative on how WebAssembly applications can work in conjunction with containers. And it runs fully on Fermyon Cloud, although the application is available on GitHub if you want to take it and run it and deploy it on your
And
app.
it is a spin application. Like you said that, right?
Yeah.
And you can see like all the different components that it's made of, and it all fires up. And part of this is to show how fast WebAssembly is, because you'll see this is the faster you go, the higher your score. And so it's proving just how quickly you're able to spin up a WebAssembly module and bring it back down.
Yes, and Slats, the cat here, has kind of become a mascot. We have a bunch of stickers, and if you can come find us at a conference, got a lot of Slats t-shirt swag. So yeah, love them. It's a fun game, and it does a great job illustrating the benefits of spin and WebAssembly.
And I am notoriously not good at this. One of our company champions has been hanging out in the chat here, Mikkel. I would say he's probably one of the best.
Whoa.
Yeah, I know. Maybe.
No, I think it's fair. I think it's fair. He's really quite good. There's a leaderboard too. Again, you can see how we build it on GitHub. But yeah, we have a leaderboard. So if you do score within the top 5, I think you get shown there. So Kate can give it a try. The premise of the game, if you're not familiar, Slots is asking for different types of food, and you have to click the right type of food in order to feed him successfully. Hungry cat going. You're doing quite well. I think you do have a disadvantage, so we'll show the iPad setup in a little bit. It's a little bit harder to play online because you're just having to use a mouse pad, and we'll show you what the after looks like here in a little bit. You're doing well. You're very calm under pressure. All right. 100. Wow, we haven't had a lot of use today, so you do get to go on leaderboard. It is emoji friendly, so you could put in an emoji if you so desired.
I'm gonna do a
There
cat
you
with
go.
the K.
All right, I think I do want to try and show what our setup looks like. So thank you for staying with us as long as you have. This means you get a peek at behind the booth as we wrap up a little bit. Bear with me as we flip around here.
I could probably.
I'm going to stay near the mics, and Kate's going to demo in real life. So here, whoa.
There we go.
We have an iPad, and it's on a thing. It's called a makey box, but there's a bunch of different buttons that are going to correspond to the food. And so now Kate, after playing online, is going to go in real life.
Okay, I don't think we can see the screen, so it's just going to be y'all see how.
You can give it a shot, and then I'll just flip it back around. Okay, I can hold it for you.
All right.
This is
Do this.
high tech. Sorry, folks.
Being so bad at this game.
So this is still Finicky Whiskers. It's running on an iPad, running on Fermyon Cloud, and rather than having to hit the buttons with the mouse pad, she actually is clicking them on the makey box. And this is where strategy comes involved. So I'm gonna flip this back around just because we're getting ready to wrap up. Thank you so much, Kate, for showing.
Anytime.
Stream is ending soon. Thank you so much for hanging around with us today. We had a blast. Again, streaming live from WasmCon. Thank you so much for stopping by. Yeah, so we'll be wrapping up here in the next minute or so. And yes, we are currently at WasmCon. This is our booth in Bellevue, Washington. A bunch of folks from Fermyon and a bunch of other companies are here talking about WebAssembly, and it's been an absolute blast. All right, so we'll be off in the next minute or so. Thanks so much, everyone, for stopping by and contributing and chatting with us. Hope you learned something fun. Yeah, thanks.
Bye, everyone. This was great.